Selection 1977 for 22 SAS. In the last video I talked quickly about pre-selection, getting prepared mentally, physically for what was ahead. Did that, found it okay, didn't really have any problems, but now it was pushing towards my turn to do selection. So I ended up going to Hereford, probably May, June, end of May, June, to do a couple of weeks up on the hills prior to the 1977 summer selection starting in July 1977. I'm just going to go through a few things with you to set the scene before in future videos we go a bit more in depth, if you like. So yes, me and John Mack, along with a few other lads, we decided that May and June we'd pop up to the Brecon Beacons again. We sort of lived there, we loved it up there, and do as much training as we could, then take a week or two off prior to the selection starting, so we could at least be fresh. But the weather was pretty hot, but not quite as hot as the year before, obviously. But 1977 selection was very hot as well. That ran from July to December for those who passed it, but the initial selection phase, which I'm talking about now, that would be a month. 3 weeks build up, starting at scratch, which we'll cover in more depth later, and as it went on, heavier weights and so on and so on. And that would be over a 3-week period. This is a month, okay? The final week, of course, of that would be test week, as they call it, where there are quite a number of tests that you have to pass. They're time tests, but you don't know what the time is. So you have to actually go for it and hope that somewhere in there you've made the timings that are set by the instructors and you don't query them. You either make it or you fail it, either or. Lucky enough, I passed, but I did train, I did plan and prepare. So when you arrive at the SAS camp, it's like, what is this place? You know, it's a new place, but it's an old camp. So, you know, the old MOD plot on the gate. Great guys, good job to do. And that's where you start. You walk in there. I'd been there the year before, if you remember, in 76, but I was there on the piss with some friends of mine who'd actually passed and gone in to B Squadron. So I knew the camp. I'd met one or two of the guys, and I felt quite comfortable. John was pretty much the same, although he was from 5-9 Commander up the road. But it wasn't new. It wasn't like, what's this? It was what I wanted. The guys wandering around, had seen a bit. Long hair, some of them beards. Not too much of the guardsman routine there, although there's a guard squadron, I can't upset them. But it wasn't TikTok. It was what I wanted. Relaxed, and that's the way it should be. That, I believe, is why the regiment nowadays, and in my time, are quite successful. They weren't too much bothered about how much polish you had in your boots, but what you've got between the ears, adaptability and flexibility, all taken into account. So there we were. Day one. Go and collect your equipment. That would be done over the weekend, because first parade would have been, from my memory, it would have been a Monday morning. I can't tell you when exactly, but by then you would have picked up your stuff over the weekend. You'd have had a bed space, as we called it in them days, and it was a bed space. Certainly not 2 meters between beds, that's for certain, so it wouldn't pass today as it stands right now. But it was a bed space, that was yours, that was your area, and you looked after it. However, it was great. Once we got that, even on day one of my course, people binned selection. They picked up the kit, they went and had a look at the spiders we lived in, all wooden Nissen hut type things, and went, wow. However, the ones that had come from Germany and stuff had 2 weeks off leave, so they hadn't lost anything, but they certainly weren't going to be cut out to get beasted over the hills every day. That was not what they were up to. They saw the kit and equipment, they saw the bed space, gone. Okay, voluntary. It was voluntary to go there, voluntary withdrawal if you want, but this was before it even started. And a shock? No. Some people aren't up to it. Some people didn't plan and prepare what they were going to go into. And then you find out that they were the ones that are likely to wander out the door and off back to where they came from. We call it Platform 4. Off you go. And back to your unit. Gone. It was when the Para Brigade disbanded. Lots of disgruntled lads walking around with red berets. They thought, right, SAS for me. And it was quite a strong setup. And from start to finish, there were some really good lads on that course. They didn't all pass, but there was a lot of paras which made up that course. Quite a few commandos, but lots of other units as well. So I'm trying to set the ground when you turn up, unbeknown to anybody, and you're trying to get into the mindset of what you've got to do. And don't tell me you didn't look at somebody and go, he looks fit. That goes on. You know, this is it up here. And of course, that's where you start. You've got your kit. You meet the instructors. Lovely guys. The ones I remember for me, obviously Lofty, who ran the training wing. Benny, Brian, who ended up being my squad instructor when they were finally split up into squads. Terry Jick. Lots of them, and all seasoned veterans which you look up to. They've done it. They've been there. They're your advice, and there's none of this crap like there is on Who Dares Wins, the program on TV. They don't shout. They're calm. They're collective. They don't need to shout because they have respect, and they have respect of everybody on that course, including me. So that's how it is. That is what we did. We met our instructors, and of course on mine there wasn't 6 female, 6 male. It was all male back in 1977, and everybody was treated fairly. That's what I've got to say, fairly. The instructors are there to help. They know deep inside that they can't do it for you. What they can do is advise, take you out, help you, but you have to help yourself to pass that course. Don't forget, I've had a green beret as well. Totally different. But at least I've done the pair of them. So it doesn't actually matter. Once we were split up into the squads, then it was, they laid down the law. I can't remember how many instructors there were, but they would have a number of guys from the 100 or thereabouts plus that turned up. And in each squad, you weren't separated. It was like a team builder. Okay, you have an instructor who's the boss, the king. Okay, don't upset him. Okay, he's the king. You want something, you go to him. You want advice, you go to him. And everybody else is doing that. However, already some people have left. It isn't for them. Well, it isn't. But better to have tried and failed than not to have tried at all. That is what I think. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm entitled to my thoughts. So that aside, the instructors tell you the standards that they want. You have to make those standards. After that, they tell you what is expected from the likes of us that have turned up. They give you it all. You don't call them staff, Sarge, Corporal. Okay, that's for the Green Army. You call them by the name. And you know what? They called you by your name. And really, that's how it should be. They didn't have creases in their denims on the parade. We had guys with long hair like myself. That wasn't a problem. What they wanted is what they've got in front to get the best out of them to join the regiment. And as time goes on, that's exactly what happened. They show you how to pack the Bergens a bit later on. So the weight management, and a good one outside of this, by the way, is TSFE, who do it as civilians nowadays, the fan dance and stuff. They, if anybody was interested, they are very good. However, the first test you do straight away is what was known in my day as a Bft test, a basic fitness test or battle fitness test. And it was something like 1.5 miles, not with kit on, just your boots and denims, and that was that. And if you couldn't do 1.5 miles, I think it was, in 9 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that, that was you gone. Because if you can't pass the basic fitness test, you know what, the chances of you passing at the end are nil, wasting time. So that was the first part of it. And after that, I'll come on to the next part of the story, but I hope that sets the scene for you. And what I'd like to say is, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rusty Firmin, SAS TV.